Welcome to Brainstorm 9000.
Greetings, Internet, and welcome to the world of Brainstorm 9000.
And today, we are going to hack into your brain. So, I'm Dr. Schultz. I'm a psychiatrist. They also used to call us shrinks. I guess now we have to start calling us brain hackers. And I'm the first one to coin this term, okay? Today's new moon.
Love it.
And right across from me, I have Master McMaster.
Master McMaster.
Who actually is Jane McMaster, but decided to call herself Master McMaster because she has master's degree in philosophy. And she basically runs this pod. So, master of all the podcasts. We are going to talk about not brain hacking, right? We are going to talk about biohacking.
Yes, biohacking, but it's not unrelated to brain hacking, whatever that could mean.
Right, but
I would define it.
I would like to point out for people that I have a pretty obvious Russian accent, right? And
Yes.
Russians are known to be masters of the hacking.
Yes, they are.
Together with a lot of other people, including the Americans and Chinese and everybody else in the world right now.
Are you a good hacker, Dr. Schultz?
Only into my own brain.
Okay.
But before we talk about all this stuff, since you are a master of philosophy, could you define for us what hacking actually is?
Yes, well, if there's one thing that all masters of philosophy have learned, it's the definition of hacking. And so in the context of like computer stuff, which is, I'm pretty sure how it started.
Yes.
Hacking is identifying weaknesses in different like computer systems or networks to exploit their weaknesses and gain access. Have you ever seen the movie Hackers starring Angelina Jolie and Johnny Lee something?
Curtis?
No.
Tommy Lee Curtis, right?
No, Johnny Lee Miller.
Well, I'm pretty sure Johnny Lee Miller is a celebrity, and I've probably
Not
seen
really.
I've probably seen a bunch of movies.
Not anymore.
I have not seen this movie,
Oh, it's excellent.
but with my sick psychiatric / Russian mind, I would like to offer the following idea. If we expand the idea of hacking away from computers, basically it means that you are trying to get access to something or get into something you're not supposed to,
Right.
right?
Or it's like a shortcut.
So it's basically robbery when it comes to computers, right?
It can be.
Yeah, sometimes it's the armed robbery when it comes to computers, because if you hack into the national system of something and disable it, right? But biohacking has a little bit of a different connotation, because yes, you try to get access somewhere where basically you are probably not supposed to, but on the other hand, it's an open platform, our body and our brain.
Yeah, well, and
Right.
it's not exactly the same kind
Right.
of hacking.
Right.
Like, biohacking seems to be more about like the idea of shortcuts.
Yes, basically trying to see whether you can yourself, right, doing a little bit or a lot of reading on Google. Some people call it research. I refuse to call it research because they don't use research tools. But whatever you want to call it, you basically read a lot. And at the end, I'll recommend a particular book to people to read if they are really interested, which I find very helpful. By the way, with my Russian accent, I have to admit, I'm not an official biohacker, but I do it all the time for my patients. Right. So you try basically yourself to get in tune with your own body, including your brain. We'll talk about it a little bit later, and see what you can do to enhance it. Right.
Yeah, and like maximize the things that it can do.
Right.
I'm not a biohacker either.
Well, except that right now you are holding in your hand this amazing drink, which is called,
Soylent?
yes, which is basically a designer thing, right?
That's not
It's like design food.
It's a ready-to-drink meal. I think this counts as biohacking because these are designed so that if you drank 3 of these per day,
Right.
3 or 4, you would have your entire daily nutrition, daily protein, daily calorie intake. So in that sense, this is like a more efficient way to consume like vitamins and protein than like if you were to eat a bunch of food that had all these vitamins and the same amount of calories, it would probably be a lot of food.
Yeah, so that's what they make you believe. So essentially people who created this GMO, so I'm not making a mistake, it's not non-GMO, it is GMO product, believe that they figured out how to feed us without us experiencing much of a pleasure. I don't know, are you enjoying this
They're
drink?
delicious. I like them a lot.
Yeah, so what tastes better, this thing or pizza?
Pizza, but I'm pretty sure that this is healthier than pizza.
I personally don't know that, seriously, and I'm not even trying to make funny here. So maybe you also can follow up with your research capacities and tell us, are there different types of biohacking, different views at biohacking?
Yes, there
Okay.
are. There seems to be a pretty sharp divide. So if you do some Googling or researching,
Google.
you'll probably find 2 different kinds of biohacking. And one of them is kind of the idea that I have with my Soylent.
Right.
It's sort of like a self-help thing, you could call it. But yeah, it's kind of just like a shortcut to like maximizing your body and your brain and like your abilities with like nutrition and supplements and things like that. The other kind is kind of closer to hacking.
Right.
It's much more extreme, and it has ideas about like changing your DNA and implanting technology like into your body to like literally like hack your body
Right.
to make it, more advanced.
So I've got news for you, Master McMaster, and all the brains of the internet who listen and even don't listen to us. But before I break the news, maybe it's like old news and you know that. Do you think we already are trying to hack into our brain and our body unknowingly, probably?
I think maybe over the past like 100 years,
Yes.
I would say that has become more of like a widespread thing. Probably before that, like people have always done like taken different, supplements that they've created and, organize their diet in such a way that they can, achieve different things. That's been a thing in like, more ancient cultures for a while.
Right.
Especially like in recent years, vitamins and all these like nootropic supplements
Right.
are a thing. Like, I guess.
Well, vitamins, schmitamins. So, you and I are sitting across from each other in our studio. We have headphones on.
Yes.
So we are hacking into our ears and to our brain because we are using additional devices to enhance our hearing. We also have microphones that we use to send the signal to recording device, which we also have. And our listeners are listening through their headphones probably, hacking into their brain using their headphones. And as always, I took subway to work today. Every single person, almost, with very few exceptions, rides the train at least holding an iPhone or a smartphone in their right or left hand. If not using it, holding it.
Is that the same thing though?
Well, we are enhancing ourselves. So it's kind of, and I can extend it to the Neuralink idea, which I'm guessing this year we are going to hear from Elon Musk, because a few months ago he said that it's 6 months away to announce some advancements there.
We'll see.
So we are going to see what's going on. But what I would like to point out is that hacking and biohacking is something that you do intentionally. So I like
Right.
the idea of biohacking because to me it means that people are trying on purpose to better themselves.
Yeah, they're like aware of themselves and they're being aware of what they're putting into their body and how it affects them.
Right.
Or what they're putting on their head or
Right.
holding in their hand.
And or eating and exercising. So I looked actually kind of deeper in a more structured way into the parts that biohacking is made out of.
Oh, please enlighten us.
So the components that I was able to identify are things you can do for your body and things you can do for your brain. So we can divide it in these two categories. Actually, I can tell you that all the biohackers who wrote something that I read or spoke to me about what they're doing are acutely aware of the brain-body or body-brain connection. So this is very pleasing to me. And then the following are the components of any biohacking effort. Self-diagnosis, either by looking into yourself, listening to your body, as some of them say, or by using devices and apps. Usually, there is a diet. Usually, there is some type of exercise. Usually, people take supplements. For example, the brainiacs frequently take magnesium. I'm not going to go into all the details. I mean, if you ask me, I'll be very happy to share, but without any particular protocols. Or pharmaceuticals. Like, for example, one of the most popular things in the community of biohacking is Aniracetam. So it's ANIRACETAM. I do not recommend, or I do not recommend to take it. I've never suggested to anybody to take it, but allegedly it enhances people's brain, makes them think holistically. I'm kidding you not.
Really?
Like, that's what people write. Right. And some people...
Is that legitimate?
The claims of changes in brain chemistry can be legitimate only if they were tested in mice, because they give them stuff and then, pardon me, they kill them and then they analyze their brain. Everything else is very complicated. But I'm just telling you, I mean, there are many, many pharmaceuticals that people take.
Right.
Seriously. Then, as I mentioned, self-analysis psychology is huge. So I'm very happy about it because people start looking into themselves, inside of themselves. Meditation is an important part of biohacking, the way I understand it, which again is very pleasing. People talk a lot about biofeedback and different forms of biofeedback. Again, we do biofeedback in our office. We love it. So also, what pleases me about biohacking, that these people read like crazy. I mean, not only do they read on the internet, which is fine, but they also read a bunch of books.
I feel like people who get really into biohacking can
Right.
become kind of like a little bit fanatical.
So I can tell you, yes, that years ago, I met a person, we are talking about probably mid-90s, with whom I went to a particular spiritual institution to study. And he was taking supplements. So he was biohacking then. And it was very disturbing because he took them literally in handfuls. And if you visited his and his wife's apartment, and the wife wasn't as crazy, they had shelves and shelves of different supplements, and he took them, I personally believe, in excess. I mean, made him happy. I don't know what the outcome is, which is another thing, that at this point, although a lot of claims have been made, and I have no reason not to believe, so I do believe, that a lot of people get a benefit out of this, or multiple benefits. There are no short-term, long-term, well-designed studies.
Right.
Unless you know something that there are.
No, I mean,
Right.
yeah, I don't know. And like the issue, I mean, so there could be a lot of reasons why there
Right.
aren't any studies really,
Yeah.
but it seems to me that one of the reasons could be that biohacking can be such a broad definition.
Right.
If I like go to the gym and jog, then that's biohacking. This guy, Dave Asprey, however
Right.
you want to say it.
Asprey.
Yes.
Yeah.
He is kind of a big figure in the biohacking world,
Right.
I've found. And he's written some of like the most influential books
Right.
in the
Like, for
field.
example, he is an author of a very famous bulletproof diet, and there is a book, The Bulletproof Diet. I haven't read it, but it's his famous book.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, so David Asprey said, quote, "The main thing that separates a biohacker from the rest of the self-improvement world is a systems thinking approach to our own biology." So in that
Right,
sense,
that makes sense.
like really it comes down to like the intention part that you talked about. And it could include any number of things. It's not like biohacking means like A, B, C, and D.
Right.
It's like it could be any combination of different things.
Right.
But it's I think what biohacking really comes down to is, I think Dave Asprey is right.
Right.
It's like your approach. It's like an organized, systematic approach of like do-it-yourself biology.
It's hard not to agree with certain things that famous biohackers tell us, and I can tell you that David Asprey is an apparent biohacker, meaning he announced that he's a biohacker. People treat him as one of the main figures in the biohackers world. Some people even come and live with him to learn all the tricks from him, which is kind of...
Like a master.
He is a master, like your Master McMaster, and he is Master Asprey. So Master Asprey, for example, recommends people to utilize raw yolks because, according to what he wrote, it increases the content of acetylcholine in our brain, which is one of the neurotransmitters. So at least it's not dopamine and serotonin that we talk about, but just wait until I start talking about pizza. And so also puts a lot of weight on consuming large amounts of healthy fats and dismisses essentially carbs, stating that we are made out of like 3% of carbs only. I mean, many different things. People who follow him don't eat the sugars. It's basically like it looks like keto diet, but it's different. And also different supplements and pharmaceuticals used. People claim that their mind is very clear. So what I like about David Asprey and his movement is that people pay a lot of attention to clarifying their mind, and they work a lot on their brain. So it's dear to my heart.
So do you have a favorite biohacker?
Absolutely. His name happens to be Tim Ferriss.
Tim Ferriss.
Ferris. Yeah, he has written multiple books. You can see him on YouTube. I'm pretty sure he has a website. I read one of his books. And I'm not here to promote him at all. I mean, he doesn't need it. He's a super successful businessman. As a lot of biohackers, he's not a biologist by trade. But if you read his book, he conducted on himself an enormous amount of very sophisticated studies. Some of them I wouldn't even dare to do. His recommendations, they work. But we also need to remember that people who are active biohackers are approximately in their 30s, right? Like, that's the impression I get. I'm not talking about the gurus. I'm talking about people who follow.
Yeah, I mean, that seems like a good kind of generalization to make, although I'm sure it doesn't apply to everybody.
Yeah, so they're very healthy people to begin with. And their body can sustain a lot of things when it comes to experimentation. What I would like to point out is that Master McMaster and I periodically biohack in our brain, right?
Yes.
Because, why? Why do you think we do? Like, what do you do to hack into your brain?
What I do to hack into my brain, I take medication
Yeah,
for
good point.
mental health
Right.
issues.
Yep.
I should say that I meditate, but I still haven't really gotten into it.
I'll recommend a good app for you. I know a very good one. I'm not going to voice it on the internet, but there is a good one.
I guess one thing that I've done that you could call biohacking is using one of those light therapy lamps in the winter.
Right.
Which I found did like actually boost my energy.
See? And who was a person who lended you the lamp?
It was you, Dr. Schultz.
Okay, yeah, I have a lamp in my office, and we work in the same office, right? So,
and I guess just drinking coffee count?
Yes. So, for example, David Asprey is very particular about how to make coffee. It's very sophisticated and complicated.
Oh yeah, he like sells his own coffee, doesn't he?
Right. Not every coffee is good enough for you. And I'm not, I hope I'm not sounding ironic, because I'm not. I just, I drink coffee sometimes. So actually, Master McMaster, you and I also do something else. On a few occasions, we've done it together to hack into our brain. Pizza.
Oh,
Pizza.
we have eaten pizza together.
So listen, cheese, okay? Mozzarella. Can you say it?
Mozzarella.
Yeah. So it contains casein, which is, or casein, I don't know how to say. How do you say the name of this protein?
I think your guess is as good as mine.
Okay, so there are fragments of this protein that are called casomorphins. So you can hear like that it's casein divide morphin-like compounds. So basically, dairy protein has an opiate molecule built into it.
That explains so much for me.
Yes. So, and these opiates, from what I read, are attached to the same brain receptors that heroin and morphine. So listen, as a Russian, I'm telling you, this is biohacking because they are not strong enough for you to get arrested. I mean, you're not going to get arrested for drinking milk, right? But they are just strong enough to keep you coming back for more, right?
Does it work the same way that heroin does, where like the more you
Right.
take, the higher you get? Can you overdose on cheese?
Of course. So I just want to mention that I just quoted Dr. Neil Barnard, an author of The Cheese Trap.
The Cheese Trap.
Okay.
It should be the title of my autobiography.
Yes. Some researchers actually believe that that's the reason that the babies, human and non-human, continue to nurse very frequently deep into their infancy because, it calms them down and makes them happier. And probably one of the factors that help them to outrun all the other species on Earth, because according to a lot of people, to which I disagree, the mammals basically ran the modern world. Well, that depends on your perspective. Maybe our gut bacteria runs the world. I don't know, but like obviously superficially, yes. So it can explain why all the babies look so happy while they're nursing, right? And just to give people some idea, a cup of milk contains 7.7 grams of protein, 80% of which is casein. It also, and if it comes to cheddar, for example, then you have to multiply it by sevenfold, so it's up to 56 grams. So I've been to India, and I can tell you, it is true that cows are in all but the 2 states in India are animals that are not to be touched.
Right.
But when you start looking carefully into who is walking the streets of India, I mean, it's not cows, it's oxes, male cows. In my almost 3 weeks there, I saw only one big male cow who was actually courting a female cow.
Ooh.
Like really, like courting. I mean courting.
I love watching animal courtship behavior.
And I saw one little baby cow, who you call
Calf?
Who was actually dressed in some funny way.
Oh.
I mean, people dressed, and it also was a she. So most of the cows on the streets are males. So the male cow was courting a female cow, so that was one, and then there was another little one. And the explanation is very simple. They milk them. And actually, milk is heavily involved into the Indian culture. For example, now I know how to make perfect chai, which is tea with milk and spices. And tastes very good. They do drink milk. And I've been practicing yoga most of my life. And if you look carefully into the vegetarian diet that yoga practitioners follow, they do consume dairy products. So what I would like to say that biohacking apparently has been practiced, as you mentioned, Master McMaster, for thousands and thousands of years. And one of the people who was talking about biohacking said that when asked whether you need any equipment, said that Zen monks, in his opinion, have been practicing biohacking for thousands of years. They can meditate, they can change their state of mind.
Oh my God, it's so cool.
Their bodies are so healthy, right?
Yeah.
So, but it's an interesting thought that you and I, we like, and everybody else, because research shows that the majority of people who've been exposed to eating pizza love it.
I certainly do. I am one of those people.
And I have to say that I said it in one of the other programs that most requested food item in nursing homes is actually a grilled cheese sandwich.
Well, I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me.
Okay, so I mean, we spoke about eating right. I don't think that we need to go deeper into how to eat to better yourself because there are different diets that they offer, or do we? One of the things that actually upsets me is this. So we spoke about eating. There is another thing that you'll hear about, which is called, and please correct my English, master of all McMasters, rewilding. How?
Rewilding, that's correct.
Yeah, so this idea is very popular, and of course, people heard about the paleo diet, for example, right? So the idea is that we need to go back. Somehow, it's presumed and presented to us that people in the wild, thousands or millions of years ago, were living a healthy lifestyle, right?
Yeah,
Do you believe that, Master McMaster?
not necessarily.
Why not? Enlighten us, because I actually agree with you.
Look, I'm not an expert,
No, of course.
but
Nobody is an expert. You know my position. No one is an expert.
like I totally understand why people sort of romanticize the idea of going back to basics and living off the land and
Right.
getting rid of all of this technology that we've surrounded ourselves
Right.
with and processed foods and stuff. But it's just a different way of doing things. I mean,
Yes.
so if you're talking about like if one is better or worse, I mean, is like processed meat and everything, is that a good thing? Probably not.
Right.
Are antibiotics a good thing? Yeah. Yeah, they are.
Right. For when you are sick. So, but they say that antibiotics are not good when you consume them unknowingly or by now knowingly while consuming meat.
Right. But I'm
Right.
pretty sure
Right.
that in the Paleolithic age,
Right.
they didn't have antibiotics.
No, they didn't.
Not in their meat and not,
No, period.
they didn't have a doctor's office.
Well, they used natural antibiotics. But if I'm hearing you correctly, Master McMaster, you are suggesting that we have our good things about our way of living right now. And maybe they did have something good going on for them in the Paleolithic period of human history, right?
Yeah.
But the disadvantages were huge, right?
Yeah. I mean, look,
Right.
cars are pretty awesome.
Right.
Planes are pretty awesome.
Right.
Although not great for the environment, pretty helpful.
Right.
Lots of things.
So to me,
Pretty sure that the life expectancy
you are
was much lower.
you just took words out of my mouth.
Actually, can I? There's this one episode of Sex and the City when Carrie's friends are trying to convince her to go talk to a therapist.
Right.
Because she's having like a lot of issues.
Right.
And she's like, "No, I don't want to go talk to a therapist. It's like,
Right.
I don't need that. Ancient man did not need therapy." And then Miranda says, "Ancient man only lived till 30."
Yes. Actually, I've got news for you, even less. So I read in one of the books about the paleo diet when I did my, in quotes, research, just wanted to learn what it's all about. Essentially, after I went to a very nice, by the way, restaurant or cafe, which is on 14th Street, probably on the west side, which sells paleo food. It's actually
They're
very-
like all paleo. That's
yeah,
the thing.
yeah, it's very good. Yeah. So anyway, so at least like for one time it was good. So, and they say that when they found the remains of the ancient people, their hair was so thick and so beautiful. I mean, come on.
They can tell that from the remains.
I don't know. But people did not live past their 30s. So then they come back to you, like paleo people, and they would tell you, meaning not people from the period of our history, modern people who are into paleo diets and paleo
Right.
exercise and life. By the way, paleo exercise is just a made-up thing. It's like, exercise. So they tell you that what they are offering you is a combination of all the benefits of the modern society and all the benefits, allegedly, of the lifestyle of the past. Don't know. I mean, are you interested to hear my position?
Yes, I would love
Well,
to hear your position.
Well, we have captive audience here. I mean, you are sitting in the room with me. You can't escape because I'm blocking the exit, literally, and that's how we are set up. And our listeners, I mean, they can choose to like shut off the whole program. So I looked actually very deeply and tried on myself the way people who practice Ayurvedic and yoga lifestyle eat. And I can tell you, it's extremely sophisticated. It really works. Like, for example, when I went to the Ayurvedic clinic to lose weight and to improve my health, I'm 63 after all. After 2 weeks, I walked away losing 10 kilos. So it's more than 20 pounds.
Oh.
And I was basically flying on my feet. I mean, I have some, structural issues after the car accident, but I felt significantly better. My blood pressure improved. So I experienced how efficient they can get. And through my lifetime, anytime I was able to follow a vegetarian lifestyle suggested by a yoga tradition, which is not vegan and it's very probably different from everything else, I felt personally very good. Which brings me to another important point. So the point that I was trying to make, that the ancients, sophisticated, educated, ancient, advanced civilizations, which we have only 2 of left on Earth right now, right? Or like 2.5.
Which ones?
India, China, Tibet. I said I don't want to offend Tibetans. I go to a Tibetan doctor. I love them. They're very sophisticated, but, very few people are left. So if you didn't, most of the people in India and China live a modern lifestyle. They smoke, they drink, they eat whatever. Not all of them practice yoga at all, or in China, Wushu and Tai Chi. But whoever does, it's extremely sophisticated. So, yes, I agree. If somebody told me, let's try the ancient Chinese way, I would have my reservations because I'm not Chinese and maybe my body is not designed the same way genetically. But I would try it. I definitely tried the Indian way. It works for me. But what I love about biohacking, that they tell you, you try something on yourself, and then you see what works and what does not work for you.
Which makes sense.
I love it. So they don't suggest to you, I'm guessing, to stubbornly follow through. And I can tell you, biohacking is done by groups of people I'm very familiar with. Like, for example, I used to, as we call it, lift, meaning, go to the gym and do weights on a regular basis, surrounded by people who are lifting weights like crazy, meaning they're deep into it. Oh my God, tons of books to read. I read some of them. They do take supplements, right? They eat. I've seen people consuming 12 egg whites for breakfast because it's an easy way, according to them, to tap into high quality protein.
Like straight out of the egg? Not cooked?
Yeah. No, cooked.
Oh, okay.
And then people do drink yolks, actually, to get high quality fat. So I've got news for you. From physiology, all the physiology that I've learned, it's impossible for our body to digest this enormous amount of protein that people who do bodybuilding take. Like, for example,
all the supplements.
Even, like, for example, if you take, in quotes, a healthy, or without quotes, a healthy vegan protein shake that contains 30 grams of protein, which is larger than your daily probably need. Not all of that is going to get in. She's checking her thing. It's not going to contain that much protein.
20 grams of protein.
Yeah, so that's excessive. I mean, 60 grams of protein if you drink it 3 times a day. The kidneys are going to be probably working very hard, and our digestive system to get it out. So this is one idea. Another idea that I have is this, again, from physiology, understanding it. Every single thing you take per mouth gets digested. The digestion begins immediately in your mouth. There are enzymes in your saliva. But if you drink your Soylent very fast, it will be digested.
My Soylent?
Soylent, I'm sorry, Soylent. It's going to be digested in your body. And the body is going to react. So there's going to be an immune reaction definitely to GMO product because it's unfamiliar. And there are going to be tons of reactions, but it's not going to be just sucked in. So, for example, when you drink yolk, right, the precursors for acetylcholine are not going to get right into your brain from your mouth. First, it's going to go all the way down through your digestive system, and then Some of it will come through the walls after being processed in the walls of your gut. Some won't. And whatever comes into your bloodstream will go immediately into the liver. And the liver is going to decide, so to speak, how to break it down. And then the brain has a blood-brain barrier, another, so to speak, device, right, that allows or doesn't allow things in. And brain doesn't store nutrients. There is no storage space there, okay? Zero storage space. And if you looked inside of any cell, it's packed very tightly. There is even very little water in it, actually, with different elements, right? Organelles that work. So it's not like you take and take and take acetylcholine or serotonin precursors or amino acids, and the brain says, welcome. Let me put you in my storage. No, ain't gonna happen. Can you say ain't gonna happen?
Ain't gonna happen.
Exactly. So I have a problem with rewilding. What is another thing that we might like?
Well, another thing is the concept of, we've already kind of touched on meditation, the concept of awareness.
Love it. I cannot say anything in addition to what we already said. Maybe we should talk before we end, because we cannot go forever. It's a very large topic, about all the technology that is involved, because it's kind of closer. And then Master McMaster, of course, will talk about whatever else is interesting. No, seriously. So.
Yes. Are you familiar with some of the technology?
Oh, yeah, I'm familiar with all of the technology, because all of the technology can be boiled down, whether you like it or not, to biofeedback. So let me very briefly explain what biofeedback is. You do something to your body, it responds in an obvious way. For example, without any devices, you touch a hot plate, you feel the pain, and your hand automatically goes back up, right? So your body feed back to you. Stop doing it, you stupid. That's biofeedback. Okay? You eat something, and then all of a sudden, I mean, not you and none of our listeners, all of a sudden develop diarrhea or nausea. Your body feeds back to you and tells you, not good.
Well, and isn't biofeedback in the context of like...
So in the context of what we do, there is a device that feeds back to you what your body is doing. So heart rate variability apps are many, and it's anybody's guess, as good as mine is, which one is good for them. So the idea of heart rate variability is that when you breathe in and breathe out, the heart rate changes. And if you start controlling it using the device, and we have such a device in our office and offer people training like that, your anxiety actually goes away. So if you practice HRV, type of heart rate variability biofeedback with a device, it really helps anxiety. So then we have neurobiofeedback proper devices here of two types actually by now, where the device reads your EEG, and we tell the device the parameters which it needs to control, and every time you are inside of the Bell's curve parameters that we decide what they should be, right? It either shines a green light, or Master McMaster saw an app that allows you to go through the tunnel, right? There is an app that allows you to drive a car.
Oh, my favorite one was when your brain was producing whatever the optimal brain waves.
Right.
Then the bowling ball on the screen would like go down the bowling lane.
Yes. So actually, probably by the time you begin to listen to this, or you have begun, right? Or have begun.
Have
begun listening to this podcast, we already have released, or have had released, how do you say it?
Have released.
Have released our video about neurobiofeedback and quantitative ESG. So also there are meditation apps. You probably use one, Master McMaster?
I do. I use...
Which one?
Calm.
Okay, sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Does it help?
It's nice. I use it mostly when I sleep, again, because I'm kind of too lazy to...
Meaning when you try to go to sleep?
Yeah.
Right.
It's very helpful to, like, help me, like... Because it's often hard for me to fall asleep because my mind is, like, just thinking.
Right.
But, you know, it helps me to kind of focus and zonk out.
Right. So there are also apps that allow people to meditate better, guided meditation, applications that help people to go to sleep. I mean, all of this is biofeedback, and there are many, many, many of them. And probably we shouldn't mention, the particular ones. So my guess is that we covered basically most of the stuff. I even recommended an author, Tim Ferriss, and we spoke about another famous author.
I want to throw in
Right.
this one biohacker. He's like an entrepreneur, a
Right.
Silicon Valley person.
Right.
And is super into biohacking. And
Right.
so he's been profiled because he does like extreme biohacking, and
Right.
it's just so bonkers.
Right.
So this guy, Steve Fagwe,
Right.
let's see, in 2017, it was like he was
Right.
32 and spends $200,000 on biohacking.
Right.
He said he became calmer, thinner, extroverted, healthier, and happier.
Right.
He also said that he's like more intelligent, that he has a higher sex drive, that he has a newfound ease with picking up girls.
Right.
And like he intends to live forever and merge with robots to become an ultra human.
So basically, he expressed all the desires that people have.
Right. But then so the things that he does at a glance are
Right.
he wears this like ring that measures his sleep patterns.
Right.
He has a hearing aid on
Right.
top of his already perfect hearing. Not
Right.
unlike, I guess, our headphones
Right.
here. He has a monitor that constantly measures his glucose levels.
Right.
And he also does daily injections of somatropin, which promotes muscle growth.
Right.
And he takes 60 pills a day
Right.
that range from like natural supplements, like garlic capsules, to like prescription medications. And yeah, so he takes SSRIs,
Right.
not because he's depressed, but because he says it helps him to have better mental clarity and not be bothered by emotions.
Nice.
That's a
So,
lot.
but we are not shaming him, as you say, right? And we are not judging him, because the person who sits across from me in the studio and just read it is called Master McMaster, not Judge McMaster, and I'm called Dr. Schultz, not Judge Schultz. So we support him, right? It's just we don't find it very.
Totally support him living his best life and
Right.
doing what makes him happy.
But we wouldn't do it.
I think it's a little extreme.
So, on this note, I suggest to our listeners, as always, please keep your brain open to self-awareness, trying to improve yourself, doing research, whether on the internet or otherwise, and
Bettering yourself.
bettering yourself. And please keep listening to our podcast. Goodbye.
Goodbye, Earthlings. Hey everybody, thanks for tuning in to another episode of Brainstorm 9000. If you like us, love us, or marginally tolerate us, hey, go ahead and subscribe, rate, and give us a review on iTunes or Stitcher or wherever the hell you listen to your podcasts.